Hello and welcome to Fantastic History. I'm Clay.
I'm Sarah.
We're a husband and wife duo who enjoy telling each other about amazing events, people, and mysteries throughout history. How you doing, Sarah?
Never been better. How are you?
I've been better, but I'm doing pretty good still.
Good.
So today's the subject of today's episode is chess. Now,
Okay.
I'm not very good at chess, which makes sense. Chess is a game of complex skill, requiring, strategy and patience and cunning.
Sure. You're a Hufflepuff. This is more of a Slytherin game.
It's a thinking man's game.
Sure.
Versions of the game have been around and been played for over 1,000 years all across the world. But in 1770, a Hungarian inventor shocked the world when he invented the first chess-playing machine.
Oh, wow.
It was called the mechanical Turk,
Oh,
or simply the Turk.
interesting.
The robot resembled a human sitting at a large cabinet with a chessboard on top.
Huh.
For over 80 years, the Turk toured the world playing against celebrities, politicians, historical figures of the time. They weren't known as historical figures back then, but you know what I mean.
Historical figure, George Washington. And he's like 14.
Yeah.
Huh?
And chess masters. But most bizarrely of all, it was really, really good at chess. And the mechanics of how the automaton worked puzzled audiences.
I'm puzzled.
Books and articles written at the time trying to explain it, but they were all wrong.
Oh,
The mystery of the Turk was almost completely lost to history, which I know would have been the ending that would just ruin Sarah here.
I would be livid.
And it's a mystery to this day. No, we actually do have some resolution to this one, but we need to back up a little bit first. Come on. The Turk's creator was a man named Wolfgang von Kempelen.
Love that.
He was attending a magic show at the court of Maria Theresa of Austria. The illusion involved magnetism to mimic levitation, I think. Mm-hmm. And it awed the audience. They're like, oh my gosh, look at this. But Kempelen was not impressed.
Wow.
He was like, psh, you think that's cool? That's nothing. That's kids stuff. That's child's play. Give me a year and I'll show you something that'll really knock your socks off. Well, a year later, he did just that. He revealed the Turk. The machine was a single piece depicting a man's head and chest, dressed in Ottoman robes and a turban. The cabinet that he sat at featured, so it was a wooden cabinet, and it had 3 doors on the front and a long drawer at the base.
Okay.
The demonstration would go like this. Kempelen would invite guests to observe he wanted to come and look at the thing and make sure that he's not pulling anyone's leg. He'd say, come and check out this thing. And I'll show you that I'm not fooling anyone here. So he would open the first door, which would reveal all this machinery, gears and cogs and all this brass stuff inside, like opening the inside of a grandfather clock or something, right?
Sure.
And then he would open a door on the back, like right behind it, and maybe have like a candle or something, but as a way so that they could see through all this machinery.
Oh,
because he didn't want I'm assuming he didn't want people to think that there was like something hidden back there that would explain the illusion of the automaton or something like that.
Sure.
He wanted to see. You can see all the way through it. There's nothing hidden back there. He would then close the back door and open the other 2 front doors to reveal the entire front of the machine of the cabinet, which so the first door included all that machinery. The other 2 doors opened together, and there was really nothing much in there besides like a few levers, I think.
Okay.
But most of the stuff was inside that first door. The larger section of the cabinet was more or less empty. But then he would open the drawer and pull out the chessboard in pieces. And once they were in place on top of the cabinet, they'd close all the doors, and he would. I don't know if he would crank the thing to start the Turk.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't sure about that, but once they had everything in place, they would invite a volunteer or someone who had been chosen to play against the Turk, and the game could begin.
This is so strange. So just to clarify, like, however the Turk was built and works, which I'm sure you'll get into, he had to play on this specific board. Like, this board was made for him, or could he play like on any chessboard?
I don't know.
Okay.
But I don't know. I think it was, and I think it was presented as this chessboard worked with the mechanics of the machine.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because the automaton could move its arm.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was his right arm, but it could grasp the pieces with his fingers and move them on the board.
That's so weird.
And I think he presented it as, they had to use a specific chessboard because otherwise it may not be able to grasp the pieces properly.
Oh, sure.
I'm not totally sure, but it could also move its head.
That's so weird.
And it could make simple but amusing expressions.
I love him.
It's pretty wild.
I love the Turk, and I'm not afraid to say it. I'm a turkey.
So following the Turk's reveal at the court, interest grew and people were wanting to witness this miraculous miracle machine.
Mm-hmm.
But Kemplin was not very interested. I think he just created this to impress the Empress and then just wanted to move on to his other inventions.
Right.
Not let it define his entire life.
So he's like the Arthur Conan Doyle of chess, where it's like, I wrote Sherlock. I wanted to write a handful of Sherlocks, and then I'm going to move on and talk about like ghosts and fairies, and I don't want to keep talking about Sherlock.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right.
Okay.
He would tell people that it was either broken or whatever to get out of showing it. In fact, the Turk only played one other person after its debut, after which Kemplin disassembled it.
Oh my God.
He was like, I don't want to, I don't want to do this anymore. But in 1781, Emperor Joseph II ordered Kempler to rebuild the Turk and show it during a visit from the Grand Duke Paul of Russia.
Okay.
Kemplin had to do this. You can't say no, so he did it. And it was such a success that a European tour was suggested, and Kemplin had to oblige.
Right.
Against his wishes, he could not refuse this offer. So this tour took the marvel to London, Germany, Amsterdam, Paris, playing chess masters and historical figures, including U.S. Ambassador to France, Benjamin Franklin.
Stop! Oh my God, I need like an episode of Drunk History with Ben Franklin playing chess against an automaton. Like, I need it now. Derek,
right?
Are you listening?
And crazy, it won most of the matches it played. It obviously beat Benjamin Franklin.
Oh man!
It even played Francois-Andre Daniken Philidor, who was considered the best chess player in the world at the time. And although he won, he stated that he found it to be one of his most challenging matches.
Wow.
Which is crazy.
That is crazy.
So people marveled at this machine, and they were theorizing how it worked. Some people thought it worked via a complicated network of magnets. Others theorized that somebody was inside the costume.
Sure.
But the costume, again, it was like half a person.
Right. And they've opened up the chest beneath it. There's no legs.
There's no legs sticking out.
Right.
And he was and he made a point of like opening the back panels on both sides too, so there was not a hidden like a third of the cabinet was not hollowed out.
Right.
He made sure to show like there would be minimal places for this person to hide. Maybe a child was inside, but
I mean,
a child beating a chess master.
it reminds me a lot of like magicians, like the sawing the lady in half trick. They show you like,
Yeah.
oh, this is a coffin, it's just one piece, and oh, now I've cut her in half and I'm taking the pieces apart, and look at that. Like, that's the vibe I'm getting.
And some even thought that it was real, like a genuine marvel of engineering, that the thing was a real robot.
Sorry, so I guess I'm that person, so it's not
A real robot?
yeah.
At this point, no one knew
Okay.
what it was. To add to the mystique, Kemplin would sometimes place a small wooden box on top of the cabinet and occasionally look inside during the match, suggesting that there was some mechanism inside to operate the machine, though it could have easily just been clever misdirection.
Sure.
I mean, he was an inventor. He wasn't a magician, but he clearly had a similar type of charisma,
Yes.
because he would also, other times, he would wander through the crowd and chat with people in the crowd, displaying that the Turk worked even when he wasn't even around it or paying attention.
Whoa.
So people were really fascinated. After the European tour, the Turk was stored away and for 10 years, and then Kemplin passed away in 1804,
Uh-oh.
threatening to take the secrets of the Turk with him.
Mm-hmm.
But the following year, his son sold it to a Bavarian musician named Johann Mazel for approximately $300,000 in today's money.
Crikey.
So Mazel was also an inventor and wanted to display the Turk as well. And after several years, he repaired and discovered how this thing worked.
Wow.
And by 1809, it was operational again and was ready to face perhaps its most famous challenger, Napoleon Bonaparte.
Oh my God, this is so exciting. Oh, this little man's about to get angry.
So they played in Austria, and the story goes that Napoleon, and he was an avid chess player,
Sure.
chose to play white, which was unusual because typically the Turk always played white.
Oh.
And this was before the rule or custom that white always went first. Napoleon also, likely trying to test the capabilities of this thing, tried to cheat.
Of course. Girl, it's Napoleon. Of course he did.
After the first illegal move, the Turk simply moved the piece back to where it was.
Oh
And when Napoleon did it again, the Turk moved it back.
my God, the shade. She's a shady lady.
But then when Napoleon tried it a third time, the Turk swept its arm across the board.
I was going to say that as a joke, and that's really what oh my God.
Apparently, that's what happened.
I am obsessed with, I am such a turkey.
So Napoleon was apparently amused
Sure.
by the reaction he was getting. And then they started a new game, but this time they were going to play. He was going to play for real.
Sure.
But after 19 moves, Napoleon knocked over his king.
Oh.
He admitted he admitted defeat.
Wow. Only time he ever did. Incredible.
Well, the Turk had toppled the emperor, man.
Nice.
Now, the Turk saw more activity in Europe over the next decade than it ever had from its original inventor.
I'm sure.
Mazel even added a voice box
Oh my God.
so that the Turk could say check in French.
Oh my God. Which I think is Czech.
Maybe.
But it's like CHEQUE. But the word is literally Czech.
I can't confirm or deny, but maybe. Then in 1826, Mazel decided it was time for the Turk to visit America.
Oh.
The United States tour took the Turk to cities like New York, Boston, Philly, Baltimore, all around. And the tour was very profitable, very popular.
What year was this?
1826.
Okay.
But it also resulted in some problems. The Baltimore Gazette published an article explaining that two kids, whether they were spying on him or they just happened to be there at the right time, they reported that they saw Mazel with his cabinet, and that he lifted the cabinet open and a man climbed out of it.
Oh.
But later, the newspaper retracted the article because the story could not be verified.
Sure.
Couldn't tell if these kids were just making it up or whatever. Later, someone else wrote the most famous essay on the Turk, explaining how he believed the automaton worked. And that man was Edgar Allan Poe.
T-Bird, that's just my baby's daddy.
He believed that a person hid inside the cabinet, and once play was to commence, they pulled themselves partially into a cavity inside the Turk so they could see the board, and they would put their arm through the Turk's arm like a glove to move it.
Mm-hmm.
He also reasoned quite well that if it were really a machine that was doing this, it would rarely ever lose a match.
Mm-hmm.
And it would take a set amount of time between moves as they calculated all the choices.
Okay.
And he determined that the Turk played chess exactly like a skilled human chess player would.
Interesting.
And determined that that must mean a human is controlling it.
Okay.
Most likely from inside.
Mm-hmm.
Well, after a second North American tour finished up in 1838, Mazel would die during his return voyage home.
Wow.
The Turk would change ownership several times over the following years until it found its final resting place at a museum in Philadelphia.
Oh.
And they would do some demonstrations with it, but I think interest had kind of died down somewhat.
Mm-hmm.
Then in 1854, a fire broke out at the nearby National Theater.
No.
And reached the museum.
No.
Where, along with other artifacts, the mechanical Turk was finally checkmated.
I'm devastated.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a moment of silence for my broken heart.
It's like the Library of Alexandria.
Dude, it's worse.
Shockingly, none of the owners of the Turk had ever revealed its secret. And it seemed with the original machine gone, its secret may have been lost completely. Now, there were other machines that were sort of aping off of it.
Mm-hmm.
And, you could figure out how those worked. But this one was special. And if it weren't for Silas Mitchell, we may have never known how this original worked. So he was the son of the final private owner of the Turk. And he published an article in Chess Monthly. By the way, why do you need a monthly publication for chess?
Listen, I've just come up with all these new moves, and y'all got to know about them.
Hey, guess what? They're adding a new piece.
Girl, new pawn just dropped.
So he published this in 1857, sharing that since the Turk was destroyed, there is really nothing to be lost by finally sharing its secrets. You know.
Sure, yeah.
It's like it's gone.
The magic is dead.
The magic's dead.
Yeah.
There's no reason to keep this secret anymore. Let's just get it out.
Okay.
So, you may learn. It may shock you to learn, Sarah, that the Turk was not a computer program run in the 1700s.
I believe that. I just don't know what it could have been.
So it was not a robot.
Mm-hmm.
It did not run by magnets. And the little box that Kaplan would use as part of his show was indeed misdirection.
That makes sense.
So if you don't want to learn the secret, please stop now. We're about to ruin the secret of a magic trick from 300 plus years ago.
All right, I'm out. See y'all next time.
Okay, Sarah's gone. So for the rest of you, there was a person inside the cabinet at all times controlling the Turk.
I knew that Poe would never lead me astray.
Yeah,
He never has. He never would.
He was right.
Oh, Dad.
But he was not accurate.
Oh.
He thought that somebody would crawl into the Turk to control it. No, sir.
The Turk was a cursed doll.
Yeah, magic.
Yeah.
His explanation, Poe's explanation, ironically, was too simple.
Oh,
He lacked creativity.
get out. The podcast is over. No, you're not. You're not. No, we're not firing shots at Edgar today. We are not.
Well, he got it wrong. The truth about how it worked is much more amazing.
Okay.
A chess master would hide inside the cabinet during the entire event.
Mm-hmm.
When Kaplan would open the doors, there would not have been enough room to fully hide the person inside. So here's how he remained unseen. You may recall the cabinet had 3 areas, one behind the first door, which was full of machinery.
Mm-hmm.
Behind the other 2 doors was a larger empty space. And then there was the large drawer on the bottom, which was as wide as the entire cabinet.
Ah,
right?
Okay.
The chess master would be sitting upright, with his legs fully extended and sitting long ways across the back part of the cabinet. His torso would be behind the machinery part, and the bottom part of his body would be behind the drawer.
Okay.
So his fully extended legs would be underneath that empty area.
Gotcha.
So when all the doors would be opened, he would be invisible because the machinery is so dense you would not be able to see behind it.
Sure.
But Kemplin knew that people would be suspicious of that. That's why he added the door behind the machinery to shine a light through so you could see that there's no one back there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how did they not see the guy back there? Well, this is genius. Before Kemplin would open the first door, the chess master would open a door in front of him that would lead into the empty area, and then a door that is covering his legs. So he'd lift that up too, so his body is now exposed. And then he would slide forward on a moving chair.
Oh.
Fully into that empty area. And close a false door behind him.
Oh, that's why the doors could never be open all at the same time.
Yeah, all of the doors, including the back doors, could not be opened at the same time.
Wow.
So if they were to open the other 2 doors to an empty space, you would see him at this point. But when he did this, he would not be behind the machinery anymore. You could shine the light in, see no one, and then Kemplin would close the door in the back. He would slide back to his original position, closing both doors.
Mm-hmm.
You would open the other 2 doors, revealing that empty space.
Yep.
And he would be back behind the machinery.
Yep.
So even if you left that door open anyway, nobody could see back there anymore. It's too dark and obstructed by the machinery. So he could be there. Nobody could see him anymore.
That's cuckoo.
Pretty crazy.
It's very inventive, but it is a little disappointing.
But
that's not whimsical. That's just a guy.
Well, here's where it really gets crazy. When the game was to begin, the chess master would return to the empty area. You know, he'd open those doors and lift it up and be able to swivel a little bit, have a little bit of movement, and open a hidden door on the back wall of the cabinet leading inside the Turk's body.
Okay.
Okay. This door would open to a table, right? Revealing a chessboard, a candle, and a mechanical arm.
Okay.
This arm would control the Turk's arm.
Oh.
The mechanism was actually very similar to a pantograph. And a pantograph is this linkage connected by parallelograms. You can get one today, but it's basically these levers, like they look like they're parallelograms, and you have one pin on one part of this and a pin on the end.
Mm-hmm.
And when you write with one, it writes the exact thing with the other.
Gotcha. Okay.
So the one that Kaplan had created is similar to that, but it worked in 3 dimensions.
Wow.
The mechanism had a pointer on which the chess master's end would move with the Turk's arm with 1-to-1 accuracy, meaning when he moved the pointer to a specific square on his chessboard, the Turk's hand would move to that exact square on the board above.
That is nuts.
Twisting the top of the mechanism would cause the Turk's fingers to open and close.
Okay.
And raising it up and down would cause the Turk's arm to move up and down.
Wow.
Now, in order to know what his opponents were doing, there was another hidden door on the top of the cabinet to reveal the underside of the chessboard. Now, when you mentioned, did he have to use a specific chessboard?
Oh, yes. Okay.
The answer is yes, because underneath every square... Now, this may have not been necessary for the chessboard, but the pieces definitely. Because underneath the chessboard were these magnets attached to springs.
Okay.
And each chess piece had a magnet inside of it.
Oh, okay.
So when a piece was on the square, the magnet would move up. And when a piece was moved, the magnet would drop on the spring, allowing the chess master to see what piece had been removed and where it moved to.
Okay.
And then he could replicate the entire game on his own chessboard.
That's crazy.
Now, we don't know who was inside the machine during Kepler's ownership, but we do know at least some of the players during Mazel's. In fact, the reason that Mazel's last North American tour ended was likely because the chess master that he was using, I think his name is William Schlumberger.
Mm-hmm.
He died in Havana of yellow fever.
Good grief.
So he had no chess master to operate the Turk.
Sure.
So that's the story of the world's first chess computer. Not exactly chess computer, but very close.
But the computer is the human mind.
Yes.
I'm just gonna look up, like, because I'm having trouble envisioning. Like, so the mechanical Turk must have been like kind of huge.
It was pretty big, but it was not big enough that it was clear that that somebody could hide in there.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're out there listening, there is a great YouTube video about this by a channel called Primal Space, called The Robot Chess Player Scam. And they do a full 3D rendered explanation of how the interior worked. And it gives you a very clear picture of what's going on. Because it's difficult to explain it. It's easier when you see it. So check out that, The Robot Chess Player Scam by Primal Space on YouTube. It's about a 10-minute long video, but at the end he shows exactly how it worked, and it makes it very, very easy to understand.
Are you going to have the link to that video in the show notes?
I can add that, yeah.
Okay.
But also, the Mechanical Turk, even though it was sort of it was a hoax, it really inspired people.
Sure.
Because people have been playing chess forever, and as technology expanded, and computers actually became a thing, people were wondering, can computers play chess?
Sure.
And the Mechanical Turk led to was like inspiration for chess playing computers.
Right, yeah.
And in the future, either next episode or the following episode or the following episode after that, we're going to do another episode on a chess computer.
Okay.
That was able to do what the Mechanical Turk was not. Or at
Sure.
least what the Mechanical Turk tried to lie about doing.
Okay.
So that should be fun.
But did the IBM computer beat Napoleon? No.
Definitely not.
So,
But now we can run through AI. Napoleon actually playing the real Mechanical Turk as controlled by Deep Blue. How fun is that? Anyway.
Yeah.
I hope you liked this episode. If you did, please like and review us on whatever podcast platform you're listening on. We are going to be on Instagram and Threads and YouTube. You can find us on Instagram and Threads at Fantastic H Pod and YouTube at Fantastic History Podcast. And if you would like to send us an email, our email address is fantastichistorypod@gmail.com. And until next week.
Later, turkeys.